Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down a truly fascinating corporate transformation. We are looking right at BCL Industries Q4 FY26 earnings call to understand exactly how this company is pulling off a massive strategic pivot. We're going to unpack how they are transitioning from a traditional commodities player into a modern, highly efficient biofuel powerhouse. Honestly, if you want to understand how a company completely rewires its DNA for the future, you are absolutely in the right place. Let's get into it. Okay, let's dive into our roadmap for today. Section 1 will look at fueling India's ethanol drive. Section 2 covers the FY26 financial performance highlights. Section 3 is all about scaling the distillery business. Section 4 will hit the growth in consumer liquor. Section 5 focuses on pivoting from legacy assets. And finally, Section 6 will map out their 5-year green vision. Starting with Section 1, fueling India's ethanol drive, and why this really all boils down to energy security. To really grasp what's happening with this company, we have to anchor our narrative in the macro picture. Management put it perfectly with this quote. They specifically pointed out that ongoing geopolitical tensions, especially conflicts in West Asia, have completely elevated the stakes. India's ethanol blending program, it is no longer just some nice-to-have environmental initiative. It's a vital strategic priority for national energy security. And that shift is the massive tailwind driving BCL's entire biofuel strategy right now.
So what does that urgency actually look like on the ground? Well, it translates into massive regulatory action. The government isn't just stopping at the current E20 mandate, which is 20% ethanol blended with petrol. Authorities are already evaluating moves to E30 under new BIS standards and proposing rule amendments to formally incorporate E85 and even E100 blends. Combine all of that with the push for flex fuel vehicles, and you have a government actively engineering long-term structural demand for biofuels to reduce import dependence. For a company producing ethanol, this is exactly the kind of policy runway you want to see.
All right, moving to Section 2, FY26 financial performance highlights. Basically, the proof that the strategy is working. Let's look at the numbers. For FY26, BCL reported a total revenue of 2,913 crores. That gives us a really solid baseline of their current scale and operational output. But the real story here is profitability. Their EBITDA came in at 251 crores. That is a very healthy 18% year-over-year growth. And what's more, margins actually improved by 130 basis points to reach 8.6%. And dropping right down to the bottom line, profit after tax hit 126 crores. That's a solid 23% jump year over year. These numbers prove that despite competitive pricing pressures in the broader market, BCL's operational efficiency is clearly translating into resilient, growing profits. Which brings us to Section 3, scaling the distillery business. This is the core engine of the whole operation. Now, what's really interesting about their operational setup is how BCL shields itself from commodity price shocks. They use something called dual licensing. Think of it as a built-in shock absorber for the business. On one side, you have ethanol, which has fixed pricing set by the government. On the other side, you have extra neutral alcohol, or ENA, which goes into liquor and has variable market-driven pricing. Because their facilities are completely flexible, if ethanol margins get squeezed, say because grain prices randomly spike, they can simply divert production over to ENA, where they can pass those costs on to consumers. Having that flexibility, it's a massive competitive advantage. And they are aggressively scaling this flexible engine. They just completed an additional 150 kiloliters per day grain distillery, bringing their total installed capacity up to 900 KLPD. Management actually expects to hit 75% utilization by Q2. But here is the crucial operational detail you can't miss. They installed a 55 tons per hour paddy straw boiler. By using agricultural waste as fuel, they are meeting literally 100% of their internal steam and power requirements. It completely insulates them from high coal or fossil fuel costs, which is a huge reason why their distillery segment maintains an impressive 11.03% margin. Section 4, growth in consumer liquor. This is their high margin play. So BCL is taking the ENA they produce and moving straight up the value chain into consumer brands within the Punjab medium liquor segment. They recently launched premium offerings like Punjab Special Whiskey, now in glass bottles, and Punjab Raspberry, and the market response has been fantastic. They sold 4.5 lakh cases in Q4 alone, marking a 20% year-over-year volume growth in a regional market that's naturally growing at 18 to 20%. This entire segment essentially serves as a highly profitable, localized cash-generating machine that helps fund their much larger capital expenditures. Let's move to Section 5, pivoting from legacy assets. Time to shed the old. So the crucial point here is that BCL isn't just mindlessly growing, they are actively pruning. They are entirely shutting down their packaged edible oil business and the associated city plant because it's just no longer cost competitive logistically. They're also liquidating legacy real estate. But they are retaining bulk oil refining, which will continue to act as a steady 700 to 800 crore revenue baseline. By firmly delineating these segments, management is freeing up capital from low-margin or non-core areas to pour directly into green energy.
Take this real estate liquidation as a perfect example of their capital allocation strategy. They're selling an 18-acre land parcel located right in the city. The fascinating part? Management noted they bought this land 15 years ago for just 10,000 rupees an acre. Now they expect to realize around 30 crores for it. Instead of getting distracted by trying to become real estate developers, they are cashing out this massive return to directly fund their core biofuel expansion and knock down their finance costs. It's smart business.
Finally, Section 6, the 5-year green vision, looking ahead to where all of this is actually going. Let's zoom out and see how this builds over the next few years. Within 2 years, they plan to expand total distillery capacity to 1,150 KLPD. By year 3, they aim to commission a 20 tons per day bio-CNG plant utilizing rice crop biomass as raw material. But the ultimate destination on this timeline is 2030. With European mandates forcing the aviation sector to use 30% sustainable aviation fuel, or SAF, BCL is positioning its ethanol and biocapacity to be a prime supplier for this explosive future market. But what makes this ambitious roadmap truly staggering is how they plan to finance it. Their current net debt sits at roughly 335 crores. Management has set a firm 5-year goal. Execute all of this massive green expansion, scale to over 1,100 KLPD, enter bio-CNG, and do it all while aggressively paying down liabilities to become a 100% debt-free company. Which brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with today. We've seen the mechanics of this pivot. We've seen the macro tailwinds pushing it forward. The strategic shedding of legacy assets to fund a green transition is a textbook capital allocation move. But as we all know, execution is everything. Can BCL Industries actually achieve its goal of becoming a dominant future-proof biofuel player while simultaneously eliminating all its debt over the next 5 years? It's an incredibly bold vision, and for anyone focused on the future of the energy transition, this is a company whose execution is absolutely worth watching closely. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.